Hello. Today's talk is on shift of thinking, and we will also experiment with that in a short meditation. Something inside us is almost as if shut down. Many of us are very focused on the external and what is happening around, and it requires our attention, and it requires that we act adequately the situation that is going on. But at the same time, it can distract us from our inner potential and our higher potential. And a spiritual journey and meditation can help us as if unlock that inner potential. There is as if something inside us that is shut down, a higher consciousness, a higher awareness. And if we can access that higher consciousness, that higher awareness, we can discover the truth and the beauty of that spiritual nature that is there within all of us, but it is almost as if asleep. And one way that I describe this in a simplistic way, a simplified way, easier to grasp, there is a little angel inside each one of us. But there is also a little demon. And this little demon sometimes is not so little. Maybe most of the time it is bigger than the angel. And maybe the challenge of this time and the challenge that we can put for ourselves is to wake up this angel and not allow this angel inside to be suppressed anymore. And maybe the times are calling on us to bring out that higher and more noble nature. And so one way that we can as if unlock that higher potential is to discover the truth of who we are. Many of us, we think of ourselves as human beings, and human beings with certain limitations and certain possibilities and certain flaws and certain faults. And just by thinking like that about ourselves, we already limit ourselves and we put ourselves in boxes. And spirituality invites us to explore a different way of thinking about ourselves. That yes, there is a body, yes, there are certain responsibilities and a role to play in this drama of life, but there is an inner being, a being of consciousness, a being that is almost, you could say, as if a guest in this world, a traveler through time and space, an experiencer. And that being is different from this body. That being is separate from also the possibilities of this body. A non-physical being of consciousness. And that is as if the lock to come out of this inner shutdown, where we just think of ourselves as limited, temporary, perishable beings. The more I become aware of the self as this experiencer who is invisible, non-physical, and timeless, immortal soul. And more we begin to discover the truth of this, more we as if shift our sight from externally oriented all the time and all the time focusing on what is tangible and physical, also to as if become aware of the invisible, the non-physical, the experiencer. We discover the potential of this. Just play with this thought that the real self, the inner being, is an immortal, timeless being, originally divine in nature, a being that is free and a guest in this body, a guest in this physical world, a traveler through time and space. And we can use the image of a tiny star, if you would like, for the soul or the inner being. And the soul, the invisible experiencer, a being of consciousness, that being is temporarily a visitor in this body, in this physical world. This is completely different thinking from I am a human being and I cannot do this and I cannot do that and I am subjected to whatever things come my way. Whilst the traveler travels through different experiences, but there is always a next, something new, and doesn't get stuck. A visitor is free to come and go. So let us experiment for a few moments. Experimenting, exploring this different thinking, this maybe even sometimes bit radical, appear to be radical thinking, can free us from the limited feelings that we may be stuck in. So let's explore, let's experiment with this, and we take it simple. Now the first step is as if tell the self to withdraw from the attention from all the things around and everything external. And whilst doing that, we accept the world as it is. For this moment, we accept there may be some sound and some people walking by or some movement. We accept it as it is. We also accept this body as it is. And we consciously relax the body. Relax the feet. Relax the hands. Relax the arms and shoulders. And let the breathing be regular and deep. Become aware of the heartbeat, aware of how the breathing is rhythmic and pulls air into the lungs and pushes air out of the lungs. Just become aware and feel free to keep your eyes open or closed, but just be aware and withdraw your attention from what happened today and what is going to happen. Just be aware of this moment, this place, aware of the position of the body, and now also become aware of the one who is experiencing the body, the one who is sitting behind the eyes, using the eyes like windows, the one who is listening through the ears, the inner being, the soul. And we can perceive the soul, perceive the inner being as a presence, a living being. And we can use the image of a tiny star in the center of the forehead, just behind the eyes. A being of light. Pure, peaceful being of light. Like a living star. And we just allow ourselves to get familiar with this idea that the thinking, conscious self is this non-physical being, like a star, temporarily using this body. The soul, the real self, the inner being is free, timeless, immortal being. The body has its limitations and expiry date, but the soul is immortal. A being of light. And so whatever the scenes that this invisible self passes through are temporary scenes on the journey. Scenes come and go, but the traveler is eternal. The traveler, the invisible self, comes from another dimension, a world of silence and light. Aware of the spiritual self it is more easy to have feelings of peace and acceptance. And aware that everyone is a being of light, a soul. It becomes so much more easy to have feelings of brotherhood and feelings of love. Silent, serene, peaceful, loving, being of light, the soul. In this awareness, the mind becomes like a fortress. The mind becomes like a container of clean, benevolent thoughts. And as we go through the rest of the journey, as we continue with whatever the physical activities are, we aim to also use this spiritual sight to be aware of the invisible, of what is timeless, to be aware of the real self, the soul. This will bring out our angelic nature. Om Shanti.